Over these years I have done many different projects, but one thing still remains the same. There is this one thing standing in the corner, just collecting dust. This microphone stand that I own is completely useless. I know I could throw it away into a trash can, but this time I plan on turning this into something useful. I plan on turning this trash into a treasure. I feel like this microphone stand has too much potential just to be thrown away. So I came up with the idea of replacing the microphone with the mechanical light design. I plan on using the scissor mechanism to build a collapsing light design and somehow use LED strips as part of the design. This sounds like a pretty simple idea, but it's still better to test things out before committing to a project. So I will start my design from modeling the mechanism in Blender. And to tell the truth, I'm not that familiar with the linkage design, so this project could easily turn into a trash or treasure itself. But once I'm done with the first design, it's time to 3D print the parts and see how the mechanisms actually work. The 3D printed parts turned out pretty great, but it's pretty obvious that I don't have a clear vision on what I'm doing here. Anyway, the first problem that I have to solve is how the collapsing mechanism would work. One of my ideas was to make a scissor mechanism with the roof, and the LED strips could be put inside the parts. One of the problems with this design was that it was super ugly, and I want my designs to look great, beautiful, and perfect. That might be asking for a lot, but hey, one can always dream. In my quest for perfection, I made some new designs in Blender and printed the full box full of new prototypes. And at this point I'm slowly starting to realize this is actually a nightmare project. This mechanism is really hard to design. It's not easy at all. My plan is not going as planned. I'm having a problem with the design, with the LED lights, with the mechanism. How did I end up in this point again? What was supposed to be a simple project turns out to be quite a complex project in the end. Well, in my mind I thought this was going to be pretty simple since there are tons of examples for this scissor mechanism, so I thought it would be simple to turn it into a lamp. But it's actually not. But I think I finally have something that I can work with. I still have to figure out how I'm going to use these LED strips. I have some ideas on my mind, so let's see how it turns out. After the many prototypes, I still managed to do some progress. I'm slowly starting to figure out how I could build the mechanism, but I still need to figure out how to use the LEDs. And for that purpose, I decided I would build a tester board. I always hate the fact when I have to test out electrical stuff, I have to build everything from scratch. But now it's time to change that. I will build the tester board for a microcontroller with a few buttons and a potentiometer, so I can test out the most common functions. And in this case I will use it to test the LEDs, but I'm hoping I can use it in my future projects. I hate how messy this looks, but I made it to save time, not to be pretty. It might not be as pretty as I would like, but I hope it at least works. And now it is time to see it in action. I used 12 volts to power the board and have a buck converter dropping the voltage to 5 volts. And everything seems to be going pretty smoothly. I plan on using this tester board to see what kind of values I want to program for the lamp. You could do all kinds of weird effects, but I feel like I want to have just the basic stuff, which is just to have a couple of different color options and a gradient effect. And when I'm done with the testing, I can turn my controller into more compact design, like something like this, which I use in my table lamp design. Basically, this controller is just a microcontroller inside this box with a few buttons, and you can use this this has pretty similar functionality, but I'm trying to refine it with my tester board. After finalizing the mechanism and the LED design, it was time to bring the first lamp design to life. This is just the first lamp design. Now I have over 70 3D printed parts that make the first lamp, and the design is around 50% finished. This is really starting to feel like an endless project. I'm only halfway there. At the same time, I'm starting to feel more confident. I feel like I can finish this project. Most of the hard problems have been solved by now, and all that is left is to do the work. I'm always wondering how I should assemble my creations. Do I make the design with just 3D printed parts or use bolts or screws? This time I decided to go with 3D printed parts. I feel like it's a better choice for this complex assembly. With 3D printed parts I can use sort of buckle mechanism to snap into pieces easily, and the end result is still surprisingly sturdy. After I'm done with this project, I'm really hoping to do more simple projects. It's fun to tackle challenging projects, to challenge and improve myself. It's also easy to lose motivation if the project starts to consume too much time. This project has taken around 6 weeks to do. It's hard to say how many hours that is, but there definitely has been times when this project felt overwhelming and I felt like giving up. Too bad that I'm not that good at giving up. When I know I can finish a project, I'll try to push through the difficulties. The assembly of this lamp was quite a challenge itself. My genius idea for this lamp design was to use this scissor mechanism sideways and put the LED strips in the middle, and the idea seemed to work pretty decently. I could also hide the wires pretty well. This is my second project using linkage design, and while this design might not be that amazing in itself, it's still a great learning experience. Linkages are used in so many different applications like door closers, hinges and pliers. They are so versatile and useful, and linkages are pretty much everywhere in everyday life. So I'm really hoping that all of this knowledge will be helpful in the future. Once the lamp was assembled, I still ran a couple more tests to see if it still worked. Everything seemed to be going pretty smoothly, so I could move on to designing the second lamp and the other parts that are needed. My original idea was to use as many parts from the microphone stand as I could use, but some parts were too difficult to work with, like this filter thing, so I just decided to design my own part instead of using this. This mess is the other 50% of the project, the controller cases and the secondary lamp. I also had to use 2 different LED strips, and for that I need 2 different controllers. I feel like it's a bit of a waste, but what can you do? Now that everything is starting to come together, it's time to assemble the controller and the power supply holders. This design is divided to a couple of different parts: the power case, the controller case, and then there is the lamp design. I already know these controllers will not look as elegant and compact as I would like, but it will be easy to modify it if needed. Usually some design choices require sacrifice in other aspects, and in this case I chose functionality over looks. Now it is time to attach the lamp to the lamp holder, and I decided to use the existing plastic ring in order to do that. I know this attaching mechanism seems a bit weird, but I really didn't think about this before I had to. So sometimes it's okay to solve the problems only once you need to solve them. Finally, we can move on to the second lamp design, which is much simpler. For the second lamp design, I bought these ring lights, which in hindsight was pretty smart thing to do. I don't have to do any soldering and they are ready to use. I don't know why I wouldn't use these ready-made parts more often. While the first lamp took like 2 weeks to design, this ring light took maybe 2 days. It's another weird lamp design, but I like the way it looks. This is finally it. It's done. I'm not really sure what to make of this lamp. It does work as I imagined, but come on, how useful is this really? I don't know. But I think it looks pretty nice, even if it's not that functional. And all of this was done in Blender, which is my first time on trying to do technical stuff in Blender. So it's pretty awesome that you can do this all in a free software. Anyway, let's put all of this together and show you the final results. It is all done and you can program the lights as you want. You can use different colors, different effects, different gradients. But I'd like to keep it simple with the lights and gradients. I'm still trying to find what kind of light setup works best for me. Here is a few of my attempts at creating the perfect lighting setup. That is another project in the back. I'm not actually sure how useful this light is. The obvious weakness is, once again, that the LEDs are not that bright. They are pretty decent, but if it had just a bit more power, it would be perfect. The design itself also could be a bit more compact, but overall, I'm pretty happy with this project. It took way too long to make, but at least it's done once more. That's it for now. Bye!